Namaskar, NileshOak, and welcome to my series of conversations with Jeevan Rao from Bangalore. In the last two sessions, we discussed the Kaliyuga, the context of Kaliyuga in the context of Mahabharata, and the beginning of Kaliyuga, and what a mess that we have made, we as a civilization. And I'd like to think maybe in last few hundred years, who knows, maybe last few thousand years, but we have certainly made the mess. And Jeevan Rao is here to take us out of that quagmire. So welcome, Jeevan Rao.
Namaskar, Nilesh ji.
How are you?
Thank, Thanks for inviting me again.
Yes, it is
I-
my
I'm
pleasure. And
absolutely fine.
we lack original researchers, But in when I talk to you, and I talk to you through social media and all the handles, the Twitter handle and the Facebook handle and email and whatnot, um, it increases my sense of optimism. So I'm an optimist by nature, eternal optimist, but it certainly increases my sense and makes me feel that I'm in a good company. So thank you for what you are doing, and you have started at the right age, uh, because many have this extremely foolish concept that they will just achieve everything in life, and once they retire they want to take it to the study of dharma, doing some original research, doing some original contribution. And we have to still admire the fact they want to do these things, but usually what experience will tell us, with a few exceptions, and we can talk about that some other times, few exceptions, if you haven't prepared, or if you're not doing it when you are young, there is that energy and ability, and you can do some hardships, it just doesn't happen. So thank you that somehow it happened. And again, you may feel that you don't know what drives you to do this. I mean, that's usually the case. So let's get into where we left the thread last time. But for the benefit of our audience, and also even for my benefit, what if I ask you to summarize broadly the work that you have done related to Kali Yuga, related to finding those references about Kali Yuga and Kali Yuga beginning from all our ancient narratives? If you have to summarize for the audience and for me, how would you summarize your findings?
That's a very good question, Nilesh ji. Now, let me summarize my research in 4 points so that it will be easy for the viewers to absorb it. My first point would be Mahabharata. Internal evidence of the Mahabharata text has its own unique tradition for the beginning of Kali Yuga.
Hmm,
And the next point is Kali Yuga began on the last day of the Kurukshetra war.
hmm.
And the third point is Yuganta happened sometime during the war.
Okay, okay,
The final point is
yeah.
the first day of Kali Yuga
Hmm.
was Pusha Nakshatra.
Oh, okay, okay. So let me I mean, give that recap those. I mean, let me restate those rather. So you are saying the different ancient narratives may be talking of a Kali Yuga, may be talking of a beginning of a Kali Yuga, but it appears based on your studies in the Mahabharata that when Mahabharata talks of a Kali Yuga, or Mahabharata talks of a Kali Yuga beginning, as if it has its own unique tradition, and it may match with descriptions of the Puranas or other texts. It may not match sometime, right? Depending on which Purana and which reference we are looking at. Do I understand that correct?
True, correct.
Okay. Then the
Perfectly correct.
second point you said is that the Yuganta, and in this case, context of Mahabharata, the Yuganta means what? The Anta of a Dwapar Yuga, because Mahabharata is stated as a at the transition of a Dwapar and Kali.
Yeah.
So you are saying Mahabharata, is it the Mahabharata evidence that gives us the impression that the Yuganta happened sometime during the Mahabharata war, like the middle of the Mahabharata war?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, correct.
yeah, that's
In fact,
hmm.
70 plus evidences.
Wow. Okay, so we have to go into maybe another session going through that summary. Excellent. And then the third one you said is that uh, there is evidence and you have to explain somewhere, maybe this session or some other session, that the Kaliyuga began on the Pushya Nakshatra. Now, is this based on the Mahabharata or is this based on some other ancient text?
As we discussed in the previous session, there are quite a lot of Puranas which mentions Kali Yuga as Pushya
Hmm.
Yuga.
Hmm, hmm, hmm,
And also Mahabharata also mentions Kali Yuga as Pushya Yuga.
hmm,
But the difference is the Puranas does not give an explanation why Kali Yuga is called as Pushya Yuga.
hmm.
But Mahabharata has an explanation for that.
Ah, very good. So Kali Yuga is referred to as a Pushya Yuga or Tishya Yuga in other places outside Mahabharata, but they don't know or they don't explain at least why it is called Pushya Yuga or Tishya Yuga. But you are saying Mahabharata actually does.
Yes.
Wow, very nice. So I want to ask you about your how you identified the problem and how you built the theory. But before I get to that, I know you have written blogs. I mean, I have read them. I might have read them in a hurry, but I have read the blogs. Is that what you have done so far? Mostly written on blogs.
Yeah, I have written quite a few blogs,
Yeah.
and taking few small inspiration from you, I have started writing a book also.
Very good. Thank you. No, you have to, yeah, you have to do it in a hurry because, the sense of urgency for this resolving this issue of a Kali Yuga is very high because people have made a business out of this Kali Yuga and beginning of a Kali Yuga, huh? A religious business you can call, not the dharma,
True.
not the dharma karya. It is the business, that
Hmm.
they have created, and they just go in circles, merry-go-round. So what is the response of the people to your blogs? I mean, are they essentially ignoring it as if like you don't exist, or they are coming head on and either giving you feedback, either good or bad?
I must say, one positive thing of our people, I mean,
Hmm,
not only researchers,
hmm,
our Indian people is that they are very open minded actually. In fact, when I started my research, I thought that people would be waiting for my blood actually. When I started my research, and as it went on,
yeah.
it was very tense to bring out the research actually,
Hmm,
uh,
hmm,
preparing for the reactions of people.
yeah.
But actually, they have accepted it gleefully. I
Hmm,
mean, I can't be sure that whether they have cross-checked it or whether they have accepted it because it sounds nice.
hmm,
Majority of the people have give me positive feedback, gave me appreciation, and also thanks to the viewers of your channel, sir.
hmm,
Uh, the comments and the feedbacks I received due to the sessions that we did
hmm.
was absolutely encouraging for me.
Yeah.
So thanks for all the
Yeah, yeah,
viewers.
yeah. No, no, you don't have to thank me. I mean, I can thank you, but let's even get away from the thanking each other business. So I will tell you quickly that I am getting a very good feedback about your work. That through the YouTube sessions, but it could be through. Sometime I write comments like a tweet or something about your work, and so I get a good feedback. What you said about the Indian folks being open is very true. Absolutely true. In fact, to the extent they can live very comfortably with the contradictions too. Okay, no issue there. That is the, I would say, the versatility, or the pliability of
Mm,
dharma tradition. Okay. Now, when I was saying that some people just go into merry-go-round into this Kali Yuga, it's not the ordinary folks, and it's not certainly the folks that we would call irresponsibly illiterate. I mean, I grew up in a
mm,
village and I can tell you how smart the folks are. Those people
mm,
who never went to the school. And I feel totally disappointed. And this is not generalization, but you come to the cities and you see people with a couple of degrees and different code names that they can attach to this, and you can't even make sense out of it. And like a absolutely shabby attitude when it comes to understanding something logically or scientifically. So yeah, I agree with you for the masses. But let's get back to, so that's a great thing that you are getting a feedback either through YouTube or blogs. Now, theory, what you will find, I mean, this is my experience with the Mahabharata, my work. When I my ask the other individuals, other researchers who also have a claim, alternate claim for say dating of Mahabharata Ramayana, And when I ask them what is their theory,
mm,
I would say 100% of them, just to give them a benefit of doubt, let's say 99 plus percent of them do not understand what I am even asking
mm.
when I say what is a theory. And what is a statement of a theory, they cannot answer. They try to build something, to somehow save face. But even more important question is, what is it that led them to even attack this problem? Like what is that they felt unsatisfactory about what other people had done before, and therefore they felt, hey, I need to look into this. So my question to you, many people have given their own things, opinions, their claims, whatever, for Kaliyuga beginning, and when and which year and sometime a day. What is it that motivated you to look at this problem, and then what problem that led you to your theory and now the work that you have done?
My journey started with the statement, Krishna's statement to Balarama
Okay.
on the 18th day of the war, when he says that know that Kaliyuga has begun, so you
Hmm.
can forgive Bhima for his unrightful act.
Hmm.
Okay, and also it confused me,
Hmm.
because the common knowledge around us suggests that
Hmm.
Kaliyuga began with the demise of Krishna.
Hmm.
But here it's almost 36 years before. I mean, the 18th day of the war, Krishna is
Correct.
saying that Kali Yuga has begun.
Hmm.
So that was the point. I mean, it's like Arundhati was just observation for
Hmm.
you.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So this observation was the starting point for me.
Hmm.
So so my confusion was
Hmm.
when external evidence of the Mahabharata states something
Hmm.
and internal evidence of Mahabharata is stating something.
Hmm.
So which one should we accept?
Hmm.
So my decision was simple. When
Hmm.
we are speaking of Mahabharata,
Hmm.
we should look at the internal evidence of Mahabharata and should not rely upon the external evidences.
Hmm.
Those primary evidence should be the internal evidence of the text, and then we can look at the corroborations and supporting evidences from outside text, like Puranas or commentaries of other, and then literature evidences, stone inscriptions,
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So this was my problem, whether to look into Mahabharat or
Hmm.
look outside Mahabharat while for solving the problem of Kali Yuga.
Yeah.
So that led me to my theory statement, which is actually which states that Mahabharata text provides clues and sources for solving the events related to Mahabharata. In
Okay.
simple terms,
Yeah.
any problem related to Mahabharata should be analyzed in context of Mahabharata text.
Ah, brilliant, brilliant. Okay. So just like Mahabharata says, there is hardly anything that is not in the Mahabharata, right? Even for other things, it says that. You are saying, okay, so that's what Mahabharata's claim is. Not about the Mahabharata. It says what is there out in the world that is not in the Mahabharata. That's what Mahabharata's tall claim, right? Or rarely
Correct.
something is not there. What you are saying is, so hey, even I mean, your claim is actually very humble claim compared to even what Mahabharata is claiming. You are saying, if you want to know something about the Mahabharata, for heaven's sake, start with the Mahabharata, right? And nothing
Correct.
wrong in going outside Mahabharata and looking at the evidence that can support, that can corroborate, or even conflict with Mahabharata. Either way
Mm,
is fine, because it tells you something about that evidence too, when it does,
correct.
when it corroborates or when it conflicts. That's a great point. And you started well, man, because I'll tell you, there are, I mean, the many Mahabharata researchers, frankly, that's true for Ramayana and our whole Indology research field, almost like their logic is upside down. Okay.
Mm,
Many many people who have arrived at the dating of Mahabharata, they have not even touched the Mahabharata text. Can you imagine that? Not even touched the Mahabharata text. And if you bring it to their attention, they get very angry, they get very
mm,
frustrated, they start calling you names, I mean, calling me names. So I have given up. And then when I say something bit stronger about them in say social media, then people who have no sense of scientific acumen, logical reasoning, maybe they're champions, I don't know, they're cheerleaders, I don't know
mm,
who they are, but they will come and just tell me, sir, this was a very rough language that you used, you know. I'm saying when you ask a simple question, they cannot even answer that. So glad you have started on the right process. So yes, so you, that was the problem, the 18th day of the war and Krishna Balarama
Mm.
conversation there. And therefore you started, and the theory I liked, that the Mahabharata, more than likely, you know, Mahabharata evidence, internal evidence, tends to give answers to questions related to Mahabharata. That
Yeah.
is what you're saying. Now once you did that, what was your, this could be of benefit to other people, like people who want to follow your footsteps. What different steps you followed, or how did you go about researching this?
Nilesh, the way I see it, I see Mahabharata text as a collection of humongous amount of data.
Hmm,
Okay, and most of the time, a single data, which
hmm,
is a datum,
hmm,
it's a, by definition, it is a fact. Okay, but
hmm,
it won't give you the information, complete information. A single data won't give you the complete information.
hmm,
Okay, in the sense,
hmm,
if any Mahabharata researcher or a reader, if we pick out a stray reference from Mahabharata,
hmm,
he might get knowledge of what the verse is speaking, but he might not get the information,
hmm,
complete picture of this,
hmm,
of verse. Okay, he
hmm,
might take it out of context and make a mess out of straightforward evidence.
hmm, hmm,
So what, in technology speak, a processed data is known as information.
hmm,
Okay, so that's what I decided.
hmm,
So I, first of all, I extracted all the, I mean, to my capacity, I extracted the relevant informations regarding Kaliyuga
okay,
from Mahabharata text,
okay,
and then let's say I processed the data
hmm,
in simple terms, connecting the dots. That's all.
hmm, hmm,
Everything is within the Mahabharata text. We need not do any external work to extract the information from it. We only need to connect the dots. That's all.
okay. Related question to that, no, that is a good answer. uh, a question, and I will call this a scarecrow, that many researchers raise. I have my answers, but I don't want to bias you with my answers because I want to see what exactly you did. They will say, I mean, they accuse me. They say this guy doesn't know Sanskrit, okay, which also
Mm,
means they know Sanskrit. That is a very subtle message that they want to insert, and which they may know, by the way. To be fair to them, they may know, and but at the same time, it is very wrong of them to think that I don't know Sanskrit. Now they are
mm,
partly correct that actually I am a self-taught, you know, in the sense of I learned from the books, and even to this day my grammar is not good at all. I mean, I cannot of course speak Sanskrit,
mm,
that is given.
mm,
My grammar is also not good, so like tense, you know, which I will not quickly know, I have to ask. Fortunately, I have access to, I would say, a good slate of phenomenal Sanskrit scholars,
mm,
and they are not the dogmatic kind, you know. I mean, they can just go head on, you know, something like this. A huge list that this my these other Mahabharata researchers who criticize me unfairly, I would say, they don't know that. Okay. Also, so anyways, let me not bias you with my other approach that I use. But my question to you is, you said yes, so you you know, computer speak, IT speak, you see that as a process or knowledge and information and process it. How did you deal with the issue of, because most of the ancient texts are in Sanskrit, and you know the meaning has to be taken into
mm.
English or Kannada or Hindi or whatever the knowledge you or me will process the information. How did you deal with that? What tools did you use?
I used, I mean, I referred three translations actually.
Very good.
One is Krishna Mohan Ganguly's English translation,
Yeah,
and in Kannada we have critical edition translation in Kannada,
beautiful.
and then Gita Press Gorakhpur translation.
Excellent. Yeah,
So for every single evidence, I used to cross check each one of them,
yeah,
and if I find any conflicting translation between these three,
yeah.
or even in the other case also, I cross check it with the, now we have a lot of online Sanskrit translation
Correct,
tools.
correct.
So yeah, using the online tool and these three translations,
Yeah.
I have gathered the meaning.
Great, great. And that's why I said I didn't want to tell you this last one, that what you just answered. That is exactly what I have used right from the day when I started studying this, area, which is to say, now the number of translation I have access to has gone up. But when I started some 25 years ago, maybe a couple of translations, and even
Mm,
I had a Bhandarkar Oriental access to, but there was no translation, Bhandarkar
mm,
Oriental.
correct.
And I did not have an online dictionary at that time. I'm talking 25, 30
Mm,
years. But I had a few, like a Marathi Sanskrit dictionary,
mm,
Sanskrit Marathi dictionaries, a few dictionaries as a matter of fact, and I used to use them. And then, of course, I had access, even in my childhood, I had access to people who knew Sanskrit well, so that was the one. My mother tongue Marathi had its own advantages too, by the way, and I'm sure
mm,
Kannada also
mm,
you'll find many Sanskrit words, just like Gujarati,
yeah.
many Sanskrit words. So that was there. And then what I did, just like you said, if the intuitively that translation did not make sense, I went to word by word translation with the help of a
Mm,
dictionary or something, right? Or the contextual. So I would go back and read the chapters to see what the tone of that discussion is, where it is going, and just not taking the meaning out of the context. This is how we do it. And so back to my venting for a minute. So when these when these so-called researchers like foolishly and just to distract the listeners bring up the subject like, oh, he doesn't know Sanskrit, he mistranslates Sanskrit, I'm saying, which world do you live in? Like, I look at like a 6 to 10 different translations of the people who have bachelor's, master's, PhDs, Mahamopadhyay, decorated with the Sanskrit titles. And I'm not using authority fallacy. My point is, they did go there with some background in Sanskrit. No one is going to call them Mahamopadhyay without having none. I mean,
yeah.
sometimes you can have a get the title without knowing Sanskrit, rarely so. And I'm looking at these 10 different translations. Okay, so when some, I mean, these people don't realize when they're saying I am using a wrong interpretation or wrong translation, they are saying those 10 people were totally clueless. In fact, I never claim that I translate. And I say that. I said, I just use other people's translations of great people, and I have the references, like you said. I also use, by the way, critical editions translation by Satavadekar. I don't know who did that in
Mm,
a Kannada in your case, but I use a Satavadekar translation. I have a Chitrashala press. I have like 3, 4 English translation,
mm,
Parimal publications, Chitrashala, Ganguly, of course, Hindi. You use Hindi, the
yeah.
what
Gita
is it called?
Press.
Gita Press. Yeah, excellent. So that's a good question. One last question, or and then you can add anything that I have missed as it relates to the 3 points you made. The last 2 sessions you that we did, you covered the different Puranas and what they have to say about the Kali Yuga, or Kali Yuga and Kali Yuga beginning. So, question is, just as a good summary, what do they say about the Kali Yuga and Kali Yuga beginning, and to what extent it matches or disagrees or conflicts with what Mahabharata has to say? And you don't have to go into the detailed Mahabharata evidence, but more focus on the Purana and to what extent they agree or conflict with Mahabharata evidence.
Yeah, Bhagavad Purana and the some of the Puranas which belong to the same category, like
Hmm.
Vishnu Purana, Brahmanda Purana,
Hmm.
all of them state that Kali Yuga began with the demise of Krishna.
Okay.
That is 36 years after
After the
Mahabharata war.
uh,
Okay, and also Bhagavad Purana and Vishnu Purana has that reference which you have brought up actually. That
hmm.
according to historians,
Hmm.
Kali Yuga began with the passing away of Krishna.
Ha. And it is their opinion.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
Pura Vidya, I mean those
correct,
expert, and then they Vidhi, they assume this, Marathi मध्ये they samajtat, they म्हणतात like that.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there are some Puranas which
Hmm.
actually have multiple traditions within them.
Hmm.
I mean, within their text, they have multiple traditions. Like I
Ah,
brought Skanda Purana,
yes,
which
yes, yes. Yeah, good, good.
which has five different traditions.
Yeah. So it's important to just let me intervene. It's important to realize that there is a disagreement between the Puranas, and there is well, or you can say differing traditions, and there are differing traditions within a given Purana, like the Skanda Purana that you mentioned, and that was a fabulous reference. So people who blindly use Purana reference, and the many, by the way, let me take that, since I have interrupted you anyways, my apologies. That not only they take Purana reference, but I would say 100% of the folks, and I would love to see exception, and that way I be wrong, that it's not 100%, but only 99.99%, that they don't understand what it means to objectively test something. So they read a statement, like say there is between say Mahapadmananda and Parikshit. One Purana says what you said 1150 years,
Mm,
another some 1500 years, and then Skanda Purana says 3310 years. They will read that and they will accept one that seems to suit their claim. That is one
mm,
point. Those people who don't have their own claim, they said, oh, but that is only 1,000 years. And why are you saying there is, I mean, based on my research, it appears like a long time.
mm,
Then I said, well, why just you read only one Purana? There are different claims. So when there are different conflicting claims, that there is a problem with this whole tradition. And yes, you can use that evidence, but you have to be, you cannot just take one and just run away with it. And it is lost. If it's lost on ordinary folks, I have no problem. It is lost on a Mahabharata researchers. But sorry for the interruption. So go back. So you're back to Purana and the Skanda Purana. You were saying how it has different traditions.
yeah, I have mentioned the five different traditions of Skanda Purana in our last session. Okay, and then there is Garuda Purana, which actually states that Buddha was born in the junction of Kaliyuga.
Remember? Yeah,
So
I remember.
that will rattle quite a few folks. If Buddha was born in the junction of Kaliyuga, means that will be a problem for yoga researchers.
Correct, correct, correct.
Then there are some references which state that Krishna and Balrama
Hmm.
were born after the advent of Kali Yuga.
Hmm. Okay. So what I want to do is not today's session. I mean, not at least this session, but sometime you mentioned these two wonderful references, and I don't want them to be lost. So if I forget, because my hair are getting gray, um, the references that you quoted from Skanda Purana, especially the gap of 3,310 years between Mahapadmananda and Parikshit, okay,
Mm,
and the fact, the second one from Garud Purana, that Buddha was born at the junction of a Kali Yuga. Okay, let's do this one session, you and me, just on these two, these particular references, and see what does that mean. Okay, what does that mean
mm,
for some of the chronological events between say now, but especially say from Buddha all the way to Mahabharata. It will be
mm.
fascinating. Okay, very fascinating. But what you just gave me is a good ammunition. I want to end this session, but do you want to add anything that we might not have covered the when I asked the question, Purana, Kali Yuga, and anything that Purana has to say, anything that agrees and conflicts with Mahabharata?
Yeah, you have actually basically
Covered?
covered
We have
all
covered.
the
Okay.
all the bases. But what I will add is,
Hmm.
based on my limited research on Puranas, it is my conjecture that
Hmm.
Puranas actually collate the various traditions
Hmm.
that were existing during their specific updation or creation.
Huh. Yeah.
Because it's quite far from reality to believe that a single author wrote in five different traditions for a single event.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
So
And
that's my
yeah.
conjecture
No,
right now,
that is a good
subjective
conjecture.
conjecture.
And I was going to say, partly, not as much as it has happened in the Puranas, but some elements of it has also happened in the Mahabharata and Ramayana, which is to say the core of Mahabharata, core of Ramayana is there. Okay, I mean 99% is there. But when the people were redacting, the copying the edition and
Mm,
making multiple editions, it appears. Okay, and if we ever discuss Mahabharata research, Mahabharata dating by itself, then I will bring that up either with you or anywhere else. Maybe we should do that. I'm interviewing you right now. Maybe you should interview me about the Mahabharata dating and Ramayana dating and Rigveda. That's a good idea. So yes, what you're saying is that one Purana author would not put 10 conflicting things unless he or she is putting it in the form of a Purva Paksha. like, saying this guy says this and this person says this,
Correct.
but it is not always obvious the way the Puranas are written. It just comes as a statement, and so many people may mistakenly take that as like a assertion. Okay, and that is a mistake, because if they take it as an assertion, there has to be a evidence. The Purana has to provide the evidence. Not only that is sufficient, but whatever the Purana is claiming has to match with the original text, right? I mean, as
Yeah.
simple as if you are saying something about Ramayana, then whatever you're saying has to have some resemblance to Valmiki Ramayana, what is said in
Correct.
Valmiki Ramayana. Ditto for Mahabharata. All right. So very good. Anything else you want to add before we close this session?
Nothing much actually. Just recently, I found one more conflicting evidence within Bhagavad Purana.
Okay.
In one place, Bhagavad Purana gives 1,500 years between Mahapadmananda and Parikshit.
Huh. Okay.
And in the final canto, I mean the 12th canto, it gives 1015. I think
Correct.
I said in the last session.
Correct.
So there is a conflicting time gap
Wow. So
within
this one, I would
Bhagavad
say
Purana.
this 500 years, other people may or may not know it. I never heard this before. Okay. So right on this, our conversation, let's give the credit of identifying that to you. Okay. That 500 years. So you will send me that verse, or you will put it in your blog or something, that 500 years gap. And it's very important that we bring this up. Okay. These new evidences. I mean, new meaning it exists, but almost like people are not aware. That also tells you, because what you are just finding, I had that same experience when I was reading Mahabharata is rich in evidence, and these all people at least last 50 years, 70 years, claiming that they have done original work or they have come up with their own date, and I realized that they are not aware of that evidence. It's like they never bother to read the Mahabharata text. I can say that with confidence, and write to their face. And I try to, and they don't want even me to say this. So they don't even show their face. Okay, but so 500, very good. I definitely want to know that reference, because that also tells you how, as that actually provides a corroborative evidence to your another theory for the Puranas, which is to say it's a collation of whatever different information
Mm,
exists. They are simply collating it, which is a very admirable task that they did. In my four phase framework, I call it preservation of tradition. they
mm,
they don't have their own axe to grind. They're simply saying, I heard this somewhere, let me write it down. Then somebody like Jeevan Rao may come in future and may actually dig into it, but let me just write it down. Okay. So very good. Actually, I thought when we did the first two sessions, we'll do two sessions and we are done. Apparently that is not the case. We will need to do few more sessions. So let me stop this session today, or at least now. And next time, let's discuss the internal evidence of the Mahabharata. How's that?
yeah,
Okay.
that will be perfectly fine, and we
Okay.
will see quite a lot of masks falling off
Mask
of
falling off. Okay,
quite
that's
well-known researchers.
good one. That's exactly what we want. And this is not against them. It's very important to our audience that we tell them it is in the process of finding the truth, right? Uttishta
Exactly,
jagrutam,
exactly.
prapya vara nibodhata. You have to do the tapasya to get to the truth. Satyameva jayate. That is why we are doing it for. It is not about the individuals, but if the individuals have done extremely shabby, extremely lousy job, then we have to expose that work and bring it to the people's attention and show, because that is my frustration for many years. When I started
Mm,
studying, and finally I'm saying, what kind of scholarship is this? I mean, I'm glad that they are working on the dating of Mahabharata, Ramayana, Rigveda, etc., but what kind of lousy work? I mean, that's like saying, I mean, but people will tell me, but Nilesh, you should feel glad that at least they are doing it. But that's like saying a person who comes to the temple to steal the shoes and chappals. He's coming to the temple and one should feel glad about it. I mean, if we use that logic, then yes, there is some truth to it. But you have to also understand people's intentions, and usually I stay away from it because that gets into psychoanalysis, and we should
mm,
focus on analyzing their claims. But human beings, you cannot totally separate from their agenda also, right? And that's why many people end up getting into these troublesome waters. Nyaya Darshana, sage Gautama says this: Pravartana Lakshana Dosha. Only
mm,
when they act, you see their errors, you see their motivations, you say their psychological setup. Only when they act. Therefore, actually, many people are smart enough, not many, few people are smart enough, they don't even open the mouth. You ask them about the Mahabharata and they will say, oh, I have not studied it. Or they will say Mahabharata should not even be dated. Can you imagine that? Some researchers, or it cannot be dated. That is also interesting, or if you say, but if I ask, but among all the 130 claims that you have today, just like you are doing for the beginning of a Kali Yuga, and I'm going to ask you that question in the next session, among all these claims, is there a better claim? It may not be the
Hmm.
best, we don't know that, only
Correct.
future will tell. Okay, so thank you very much. We will thank you for doing this, and let's see if we can find time today. We will record another session, but for this one I want to close this. Okay, thank you, Jeevan.
Namaskar, Nilesh.
Namaskar.
Namaskar. Bye.